talking about a sensitive topic today. We're going to be talking about sexual assault. So, I feel like this conversation that needs to be had that's not had often enough. And this is something to me that gets swept up under the rug. Victims are condemned for speaking out. They're not believed. So, yeah.
Okay.
Preface it by saying that. So, when I was growing up, I was molested by a few different family members and then someone that wasn't a part of my family. And this started happening so early that these are some of the first memories that I had. So, I don't know when it started. Okay. I just know that these are memories that I have from early childhood. But when I was growing, my childhood was very tumultuous. We didn't have much stability at all. So nobody knew about it. My mom didn't find out until I was probably probably my early 20s. And of course, when she found out, she wanted to know who it was.
Quite naturally.
Right. And I'm like, no, we ain't doing that. Like, I've let that go. Like, that's not a part of, my life anymore. But I didn't realize how much it impacted me until I had a daughter. Okay. Because I felt like I had healed from it all. And then when I had Tinka and I had to start sending her places to get babysat while I had stuff to do, I was like, oh my God.
I got like a chill.
Like, it's always in the back of my mind. I don't care where I send her. And of course, I only trust her with.
But it still matters.
Yeah.
It's going to always be in the back of your thought pattern, irregardless, because it's a trigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like just the thought of it.
Just
on the inside, I am like screaming because I can't. My thought is that nobody suspected anything when I was growing up. Nobody asked. I didn't have enough knowledge or comfort with anyone to tell them. I didn't even know that it was wrong myself until I got older.
But I think making me think about your different movements that people didn't even notice, like something was different about you. But
I don't know if there was anything different.
Man.
But that's the thing. I don't think that there was anybody consistent enough to say something's wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that we didn't, like our cousins were around and stuff, but when you grow up and my grandma had 9 kids. When you grow up in a family and it's a lot of kids, because it was a lot of us, it's a lot of kids, it's hard to just focus on yeah, like all the kids, they playing, they fine, you know what I'm saying? But I wonder sometimes, like I was a tomboy growing up, and I wonder sometimes, like, is that why? Like, I preferred the baggy clothes or whatever, because my body
hiding.
Yeah, but yeah. I don't think my body really started to develop until like I was in the 9th grade. Like that's when I started to see or hear people, comment like, "Oh, look at her hips," and you know what I'm saying. But that conversation to me is one that is not had enough, and even like Tinka's only 2, but. When I pick her up from somewhere, I sound so horrible because you watch my baby so but that brokenness in me where this is concerned, that fear in me, I do a body check.
And but I think that should be done across the board, irregardless, because I think people will pay more attention and find out more if they do that. Even if she's a baby, but even when they get a little older, have those conversations. How was your stay today? Yeah. Did any, you know what I mean? Because again, I still, my kids are 13 to 15. Yeah. I still have a conversation with them. You know what I mean? X, Y, and Z. This ain't supposed to, nobody's supposed to touch this, that. I don't care who they are, me, daddy, grandma, papa, nothing. And they old enough to know, old enough to speak for themselves. But at that age, they're told to be quiet. Yeah, you know what I mean? So when they're young, they don't really know. Yeah. They know something wrong, but they don't know how to speak out about this. They don't know what's right or wrong. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So doing the body checks, hey, we need to do bit more of that on the daily, okay?
But I the only reason I feel bad about it, because most times thinkers with you are my mom.
It doesn't matter though.
But I just be like, it's just that.
Right, baby. It's not to be funny. It's not a laughing matter, but I get it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't take offense to that. You know what I mean? If anybody do take offense to that, I think that's a hard issue. You know what I'm saying? Why you feel offended about it?
But I think I do that now because there, we have minimal communication at this point. Tika can't, she talks, but she,
yeah.
But I'm trying to teach her body parts. You know what I'm saying? This is your vagina. She say vagina.
Yeah.
She can't say vagina.
Right.
But, so I'm trying to make it a normal thing.
Yeah.
Make having conversations about sex, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, making that normal. You know what I'm saying? So she don't feel ashamed to talk to me about whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I just sex in any aspect was a difficult conversation. I'm grown now. Like and not to say that that's why, but because I've explored this in a lot of different ways, I can have this conversation now. But I'm 32 years old. You know what I'm saying? It took for all of this stuff to happen and transpire in my life for me to get to this point. But I want to make sure that she's comfortable. And to what you were saying about kids being quiet, I understand respect. You know what I'm saying? I understand acknowledging where you are, but when you muzzle your kid, when you make them feel like they need to be seen and not heard, you take their voice away. And they need to be able to learn to communicate and learn to be emotionally intelligent. But when we muzzle them, we handicap them, so they don't know how to communicate in relationships. That's a whole other point.
We'll one day.
But just for them to feel comfortable to communicate in general with you, that is so vital.
But hold on, but think about this though. Even though we may have this conversation in our household though, right? Yeah. But let's go back to almost some black families. What goes on in this house stays in this house. And we can talk about this thing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But guess what? You better not tell nobody.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why is that there? Like, no, that is not okay. Because again, it closed the mouth. You know what I mean? Because something else could be going on in that house that you're not aware of as a parent, that they need to speak out to somebody else about. You know what I'm saying?
It's a fine line.
You better not say it. You better not tell nobody else.
It's a fine line.
It definitely is. And I mean, that hurts. You know, like I say, even my tweens, we have a conversation. I want them to be able to be boisterous, speak out. I will hear you first before I react. You know what I mean? I always tell my kids that across the board. You know what I mean? Because it might be a sense to talk about. I wouldn't talk about. You know what I'm saying? But I have to allow them to be able to have that freedom to have that conversation. You know what I'm saying? So we can have that dialogue. So we can converse. You know what I mean? Where they don't have to feel like they only can tell me a little bit of this or a little bit of that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a fine line, though. And I say that, and I'm not with I say that because I feel like you have to teach them the difference between first right and wrong, but also you just gonna be out telling our business.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
like I feel like there's just certain things that maybe. I'm trying to think of an example.
Yeah, because I need more of that because I'm still trying to figure. I understand what different aspects of what our business is. Yeah. You know what I mean? But what us as adults see as business could be different to a child as business. You know what I mean? You know how kids can be. For my son, like, he just goes. I'm like, boy, I know not to talk around you. You know what I'm saying? I know as a parent not to talk around him versus my daughter. You know what I mean? Because it's just freely for him. But I don't want to put a caption on him say, Norton, you can't say that when you're out public. Because then it makes him think he has to wonder, okay, when I'm around, I can't say this. I want him to be able, they want to be able to free to be able to have a conversation. But I think it's maturity sets in. My daughter just know what not to say and what not to say when she's around.
That's what I mean, though. You know what I mean? Like,
but I don't. So
I'll give it to you but that's what I'm saying. You got to teach them the difference between what's right and what's wrong. I feel like there are certain things that are appropriate and certain things that are
I
inappropriate.
don't know. I don't put captions on her. I don't tell her, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about this. Again, I think it's just that conversation we have in home on a regular basis. Like, she just know what's
But
vital.
that's inadvertently teaching her, though.
Yeah, it is. But again, back to the conversation, having those dialogue.
Right.
You don't have those.
So, but that's what I mean. I'm not saying that you sit down and say, hey, you don't tell Nana this, but just inadvertently.
Nana? You know somebody gonna take offense to that.
First off, your kids call your mama Nana, and my daughter called. I ain't talking about you, Mom.
I'm not even mommy.
Yes, she is. But inadvertently teaching. I ain't saying I won't, because I want Tinka to grow up and be herself, be comfortable in whatever, atmosphere, whatever she's in. Like, I won't ever be like, hey, you don't talk about this. Don't say. But being able to inadvertently teach her, because I don't.
Yeah, that's a difference.
There may be. I just don't. I feel like growing up, I was muzzled.
Okay. So
I didn't, which is a part of the reason why it took me so long to even acknowledge that things had happened to me that were not right.
Okay.
And even as an adult, sometimes, as communicative as I am, it is hard to have conversations with certain people. Because...
Are we talking about conversations as far as sexual assault?
That, or just in general, because I was muzzled so much, and those people are directly tied to that. Okay. So it's hard to have a conversation with them, because it's still like, man, like, when I have a conversation with you, like, I feel restricted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I can't be who I am. Yeah. So that's what I mean when I say, like, I want Tinka to grow up and just be her full self. You know what I'm saying? Be who she is, but still be able to teach her, there are conversations that I won't have with certain people. Okay. And that's only from being able to read them. That's only from being able to go back on experiences that I have had with them. And that's not to say that people are not able to change. Yeah, because everybody. But I feel like you kind of tiptoe, like you put your foot in the water and then take it out. See what, just kind of see what's going on with it. But, because everybody can't receive what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? And we talk about sex a lot. So what if one day Tinka want to talk, I'm using my mom for example, what if one day Tinka want to talk to my mom about what she and I talked about with sex? Yeah. I don't think that's going to be something that my mama going to want to talk about.
Like, baby, let's play with these blocks.
Right. But I don't want to tell Tinka don't talk to Nana about sex. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's something that she gonna have to kind of figure out for herself. Like, you gotta kind of be able to navigate who you can have conversations with about what. That kind of sucks, I guess. But
I guess, it's safe as well, I guess, and, depending on how you look at it, certain situations,
I don't think it sucks. I think it's a form of protection.
I don't know. I guess I say it sucks because I feel like you should be able to have conversations, no matter what it is. You shouldn't have to, again, back to the caption, you shouldn't have to be muzzled, where, I can't say this, but again.
Some people just ain't comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Listen, I ain't going to go into that. I was going to go to all of the story. But like, okay, let's talk about the body parts, okay? And it makes me think about the kids today. Like, when you say vagina, or you say pussy, you know what I'm saying? Or you say penis, or you say dick. Some people are so, they go get red in the face. They get all fidgety. They get all like, But I've experienced adults do that. I'm like, what's wrong? Like, it's just a body part. But again, going back to having that conversation and what's comfortable, because everybody don't feel comfortable with certain topics.
I think when you talk about that, though, I think it's verbiage.
Yeah, and then people make it seem nasty.
Yeah, but think about culture. The way that these words are used. Dick and pussy are derogatory. Yeah, buddy. And they use that in rap songs. Like, it sounds more derogatory.
Anything.
And penis and vagina, those are
more context.
Those are the medical names for them, or whatever. Is that what?
Medical terms.
Yeah, those are the medical terms. So, but I laugh because I'm gonna bring this up. I cut this out if you want. Okay. When I walked into Buddy's room the other day,
oh yeah,
and he got the blue lights
blue
up in his room, and I said, "Bubby, you be in here masturbating?"
looked at you like,
and
no.
then he was like, why y'all ask stuff like that?
Yeah.
But like this, I want this to be normal conversation.
And it's normal for them.
And I know this, they make my kids, they my cousins, but I want this to be normal conversation. You be in here masturbating because you got these blue lights in here. I don't want to walk in and look at your sheet and you know what I'm saying?
He's watching the blue light. You a fool. But you realize he didn't get weird about it.
Yeah, he was just like, no.
Like because he's aware, you know what I mean? They are very full aware.
But you asked another kid that.
Yes.
Same age.
Ooh. Yes.
It's gonna be a totally different response. And if they are, they gonna get mad at you.
Wow.
But I thought about it's so funny. I thought about that, but there is so much. I feel like it's healthy to have these conversations because your kids is gonna grow up. They're going to get in relationships. They need to be able to have conversations with relationships.
If we don't have those conversations, the world will. You know what I mean? When I used to teach the class called Prep, it was teens from, I think it was 12 to 18, I think, or it was 12 to 18 or 15 to 18, I can't really remember. But all the instructors would get in a room together and we have a discussion about, the different courses. And one of the 4 courses of the prep was sex. Mm-hmm. And one of the instructors, she said, well, I don't talk to my kids about sex. But she has to teach this class though, right? And I was like, man, how can you not have a conversation with your own child about sex? Because in my mind, if you don't teach your child about sex, like again, the world will teach you.
You feel like it don't apply to them.
Exactly. I mean, they'll go to porn, you know what I'm saying, and see what it looks like because a lot of young women aren't comfortable with their bodies. Let alone, I know it's a whole different topic, but going back to the whole sexual assault thing, but if you don't have that conversation with your child and they don't know what's right or what's wrong, who's supposed to be touching me, you know what I mean? That is not okay. That is not okay.
My sister, when I was in the 7th grade, she started talking to me about sex. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like directly like this is what happens during sex. She started talking to me. I don't know why we wasn't learning this stuff in school yet. Right, but she started talking to me about the hymen and all of this. Okay. This ain't stuff. I'm trying to. I wasn't interested in none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't get into boys until later on, but that's where I learned about it from. And she probably learned it from her stupid friends. Mm-hmm. Like,
girl, they be like the vagina is ugly. Like, girl, you don't want to do this. It's like, wait, hold on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just again, if you don't have as a parent.
This is we just going into this. But church culture.
Yeah.
Is a whole different area. We don't talk about sex unless you marry. And then even in marriage, you still ain't supposed to be talking about it.
That is wild.
Ain't it?
And I think I never really understand the concept of that because honestly, a lot of pulpits, they don't talk about it. Yeah. They don't talk about sex.
I wonder though, and this isn't a blanketed statement, but I wonder if it makes you a hypocrite. Because if you married, but you stepping out, and you got something to say about it, or if you single, and you out here messing around, but you got something to say about it?
Loose booty.
Yeah, like I wonder if that's a part of it. Yeah. But also just the whole like purity movement. Like in my mind, growing up, when I had conceived that I was going to get married, because I hadn't conceived that early on, but when I conceived that I was going to get married, I'm going to be a virgin when I get married. But in my mind, I'm going to be like 20 when I get married. Like I gotta get married early. I can't, I'm not going to be 30.
Were you conditioned because of
yes. But this wasn't until, it wasn't until 16 when I started taking my relationship with God seriously. And all of that information, like, oh, I gotta get, like, I just wanted to get married early. Like, I want to be, and it wasn't like I want to have sex. I hadn't had sex yet, but I was just like, man, I want to save myself until marriage. It didn't happen that way, but it was just like, man, like, it's uncommon, and I'm definitely not gonna say that it's okay, but it's unrealistic. Yeah. Because now, I was 28. Was I 28? I'm 32. I was 28 when I got married. I don't think I could have made it. I was 18. Was I 18 or 19 when I lost my virginity? You talking about 10 years?
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have made it. If I'm being just based off of the people that I was dealing with. I dealt with this one dude. He was so nasty.
Like, ooh, that is.
He was so nasty, and like I just don't.
Was he nasty prior to you losing your virginity, or this was after?
I was still a virgin.
Okay.
When I met him, I
so
didn't lose my.
Love.
No, I didn't lose. I didn't
not that
lose
you
my
lost it, but you
virginity.
start feeling something.
We was messing around.
Like this one.
And then I moved on to someone else. I lost my virginity and then backtracked.
Okay. So you said, hey, he was nasty, but let me find out.
That's exactly what happened.
Hey, boo, I'm back.
I literally randomly text messaged him one day.
Okay.
Took my behind to Cincinnati.
I'm going out for the D.
Yes, and it was not worth it.
Oh.
That's another story.
Okay.
But that was my mentality. Like,
okay.
I need to be a virgin when I get married. And I feel like that coupled with growing up and nobody talking to me about sex is a recipe for disaster.
Ooh. Now let's just hypothetically, if you had that conversation prior to and knew the knowledge that you knew, from your parents or somebody having a conversation with you, do you think it would have been different for you?
I don't know. I think that I ended up the way that I was because I didn't have stability.
Okay.
So I don't think that having a conversation would have been enough. I think it was a disaster because when I had made the decision to save myself for marriage, it was out of not wanting to displease God. Okay. So there is a pressure that comes with that. You don't. This is an absolute no. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Sex outside of marriage. No. That's in the hierarchy of sins. That's at the top. You know what I'm saying? Like so, but I think that it's a problem because grace isn't taught along with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's more of a pressure on females than
I'm just thinking that. Wow, yeah, you get out my head.
But that's a conversation that also needs to be had. That boys aren't taught the same way that girls are.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah. But I just think that I would, of course, I would have ended up different if I had stability, but I don't know that a conversation would have made things turn out differently.
Okay.
Because when you came along, we were having those conversations. And I still went out and had sex without condoms. You know what I'm saying? I still went out and did stupid stuff, but you talking about, at that point, 2 or 3 years of wisdom versus all of these years of
you was just freelancing. You was just out there. You know what I'm saying? Trying to navigate. You know what I'm saying?
But some of the things that you taught me, I did use them later on. Later on in life. But we got way off topic.
But that's okay though. But again, I feel like this works. So let's just tie it back in. Let's just say this. Let me ask you this. With all the incidents that you've occurred with sexual assault, what would your advice be to someone else that's either going through it now or been through it, or maybe someone that's intimidated to talk about it? Like, what would be your advice to someone that, male or female, that's been in that arena? Because you're still learning.
My perspective, though, I'm learning now more because I have a daughter. But I would find somebody to confide in.
Okay. So therapy.
And
some type of therapy.
It don't necessarily have to be therapy. I do believe that at some point you do need to get in therapy, but just to be able to tell somebody, because if you ain't told nobody, you carrying that by yourself.
It's a weight of unknown weight.
Yeah, like you carry that by, and I can't tell nobody else's story, but just for me, I didn't even acknowledge that it was wrong.
Okay.
I think at one point I had just accepted it, like,
okay.
This is just, kind of
be right now.
Yeah, this is just kind of what it is. But I would find somebody to talk to about it and educate myself on how, kind of try to figure out how I ended up here, because I feel like that's a key part to your healing. You got to go back there to heal that space, because I think when it started to happen to me, or when I realized that it had happened to me, and the way that my life progressed, I was a target because I didn't have anybody actively in my life. So to be able to acknowledge that in itself is a wound, but to be able to acknowledge that, see that wound, and be able to heal that wound, it kind of is like a domino effect, and there's not anybody specifically that I blame, because there were a lot of adults around me, but just to be able to see everybody for who they are and where they were at that time, you know what I'm saying? Because that makes a hell of a difference for me to look at, as an adult now, for me to look at all of the other adults that were in my life and see that, man, they probably had their own issues going on. They probably, they all had kids. I got a daughter now, and I'm always all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So to try to be empathetic to them before I start pointing the finger at them and saying,
"Well, you have to understand where they come from," or
But yeah, I at some point get into therapy. I think that my trauma has surfaced more now that I have a daughter, and that's a bigger impact on me than actually being molested. Because the thought of something happening to her, and I'm supposed to protect her, like that would be a hard pill for me to swallow. Like, I have high anxiety over that. Like I lose sleep over this sometimes. So, and I'm, many years removed from the actual events. You know what I'm saying? You talking about, I'm still in single digits. So at 32 now, the fact that this still is impacting my life and showing up in my life, I do believe that one day, total healing will come. I don't know when that is, but just to be able to work through it and counseling it, and I'm a big advocate for communication, so I always give my feelings a voice. So just if
that matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give your feelings a voice.
Whatever you feel about it, say it. And I had to acknowledge to myself that this isn't my fault. It happened and isn't my fault. I was a kid at the time. And not be ashamed that at some point it felt good. We are sexual beings.
Absolutely.
We are sexual beings. Our bodies are going to respond. But that there is not shame in that for me. You know what I'm saying? So,
So therapy, having a conversation, constantly dealing with the root of a thing, you know what I'm saying, when it surface, you know what I mean, and not, I guess necessarily push it aside, just start dealing with it.
Because I think that the way that certain things manifest, like there are byproducts of a thing, and we deal with the symptoms of it. We deal with the byproducts instead of dealing with, the actual root. A byproduct is fear, for me, it's fear that it's going to happen to my daughter. But if I deal with the root of it, then that fear will go away. You know what I'm saying?
You can make things different for her, in a sense.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think it was very helpful. Me personally, I haven't experienced it, so even on that end, I'm still from my perspective of not experiencing it, but at the same time putting it out there for my kids to know that this isn't right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in your perspective of being in it, having to deal with it, and trying to prevent it from actually happening to your child. You know what I mean? So
I always look at people like, this is just, I guess it's just a part of it, but I'd be like,
you always think something's going.
yeah,
You know,
like,
I'm just like, you know what I mean? I just know that you always don't come to this. We good. You know, but again, it does go back to the foundation of the thing. You know what I mean? Your experiences change the way that you view.
I just be like, you be molesting kids. Like, and then I know everybody ain't out here.
Like, this is so bad because I hope I told you this. Me and the kids and my dad was in the car, and one of his tenants' name is Chester, and we was riding by.
First off,
wait, hold on. And my dad was like, "Uncle Chester," you know, just said like he rode by, and I was like, "Chester, child molester." I'm like, "How old am I?" But then my dad just laughed, but it made me think about, first of all, you know,
why would he name your son Chester?
First of all, it's wrong though, okay? Because it's like I just put that on that man, right?
No, blame his mama calling him for naming her Chester.
But then I had Nene. I said, "Have you ever heard that?" She like, "No." I was like, "You ain't never heard of child molesting Chester?" Like, what's wrong with you? And she like, "No, Mom, I never heard that." But that was the first thing that went in my mind. But if you think about that, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Was there an actual Chester that was child molesting people?
I think that kids are cruel.
Yes. That was so random, off topic a little bit, but
I think that kids are cruel and they rhyme stuff together.
Man, we do. But anywho, you know, I mean, it's not really a funny topic.
My sister's initials
a joke.
were BJB, Brooke Janelle Boykin, and they used to call her blowjob.
I'm about to say, wait, I just picked that up immediately.
They used to call her blowjob Brooke.
Wow.
Or blowjob Betty. That's terrible.
Kids are
kids cruel.
That was bullying back in the day, though. We didn't even realize that.
That's another topic.
Anyway.
All right, sorry, Chester.
I'm sorry. I did not mean that.
All right, thank y'all for watching. This was, I think we're and expound some more on it. But just to start the goal with this podcast is to have conversations. We have conversations all the time, which is why we started this podcast. But the goal is that it sparks conversations amongst other people that are not being had. Between the both of us, a lot of communication happens. I don't know that there's anything that we haven't talked about. Yeah, that we don't talk about. There's
nothing we don't talk about.
Yeah, so we just want to encourage communication within families, within friendships, just relationships in general. So we hope you support us, subscribe, share, comment. If you comment, we're going to get back with you. We're going to be looking for guests to have on the podcast for certain topics that we want to talk about. Brandy Dangerfield, I'm coming for you because we're going to be talking about being in these inter-ethnic relationships. We need to sit down and have this conversation. So we thank y'all for watching. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Holidays.